as possible at your homes. Okay, so basically, this webinar is all about IELTS, why IELTS is required, where it is required, and who can attempt it. So, moving further in this webinar, before we move further to the IELTS topic, let me introduce myself to you. Who am I? My name is Megha Shukla. I've been working since last 5 years, more than 5 years now, and teaching IELTS to the students. I've affiliated with myself with many institutes, many companies, and lately I've also been teaching privately. And recently I've associated. I'm really glad and appreciate I've been associated with the GT Cube members, and they are from the top universities, and their main aim is to mold the future of the students in the right directions, give them the proper guidance, and help them to achieve their goals in the life. However, talking about me, I'm really glad to share that more than 90% of my students have got their desired band scores in the first attempt itself. Now, deviating to the, getting deviated to the topic of IELTS, let's come back to it, and we'll start with the main topic, that is introduction, what basically IELTS is about. Yes, now it is okay. Okay. Okay, so our first topic is the introduction about IELTS. What is basically IELTS, where it is accepted, and what is the meaning of IELTS? It's an international English language testing system. Okay, the full form of IELTS, where if you are, for example, if you are willing to move abroad for your studies or for your jobs or for getting a permanent residency, IELTS always is required as a test where they check your proficiency in the language skills, as English is a mandatory language in most of the countries, as you know now. So they check how well you are at your written communications, at your verbal communications. Are you able to understand the native speakers over there, and are you able to survive over there? So that's why they ask International English IELTS as their test results. Now, what is the next point is what is the band scores and the scales required. So it's not about like they don't ask for the grading systems. They check your level of proficiency, how good you are at your communication skills, how you are able to write, read, listen, speak in IELTS. So they give you a band score over there, and the band score goes on from the non-users, that is band score from 0 to 1, through the expert level band score, that is band score 9. And apart from that, IELTS is available in almost 1600 locations worldwide, and including 50 locations in the USA. Doesn't that sound great? So now let me tell you more about it. That IELTS is accepted throughout almost in all universities and organizations these days. That is 10,871 organizations and universities across 145 countries accept IELTS. So this is a short introduction about IELTS. That is a language testing system that often is required by many organizations, universities, and many countries when you move over there. Now let's move further. Why you should take IELTS and what are the requirements? Now, IELTS is something, if you're planning for higher studies, for you're pursuing your MBA or for pursuing your PhD, as you are a native, sometimes in India, for example, you can say that you're according to the state wise, you often speak your mother tongue sometimes. So often the universities, when you're going there for study purposes, they often require the test results, that's IELTS. And in countries like UK, USA, Canada, Australia, Germany, and Europe, most probably they ask for such test results. Now, if you're planning to move abroad for job seekers, or you're planning for a permanent residency, then major countries, that is 100 plus countries to give that job opportunities these days, ask for the IELTS test results. And also countries for permanent residency, if you want, for example, these days Canada is really burgeoning. So if you are planning to move to Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, and so on, then they often asked for the IELTS test results. This is accepted worldwide these days. Now, moving further and giving you some more details about IELTS. What is exactly the agenda of today's webinar? I'll just tell you in short that we are going to have a short introduction about the difference between the IELTS, TOEFL, and PT. Then I'll give you some information about what's the general and academic IELTS, what's the pattern in IELTS, that's listening, reading, writing, speaking. Then how can you prepare? Can you prepare by your own, or you require any guidance? Then the materials required in for IELTS. Then some questions that often people are baffled, and you're in a dilemma that where should they opt for IELTS, and they should go for computer based or paper based. Such kinds of questions which are frequently asked, we'll solve them. We'll try to solve the maximum questions. And I'll be really sorry if I'll be unable to answer your questions along with the webinar. But however, once I get the webinar completed, I'll be happy to help, and I'll be happy to answer your almost all the questions. And so be patient and wait for my answers. Now coming back to the some difference between IELTS, TOEFL, and PT, I'll give you a bit short introduction that in TOEFL and PT, you do not have any options for paper based exams. If you are not good techno savvy, then you can always go for IELTS. And IELTS, TOEFL, and PT, these three modules, these three tests are for English proficiency. Okay, they test your language in English. So but one advantage in IELTS is always you can have paper based exam. Apart from that, in IELTS, you can also have face-to-face communication. That is again an advantage. And in TOEFL and PT, that is recorded speaking test. Sometimes you might be hesitated in face-to-face conversation, so you opt for TOEFL and PT. However, the one advantage of IELTS is that most they accept the Cambridge and British English. So people have there is a less stress for accent. Whereas in TOEFL, most probably they ask, especially for the speaking module, they ask for a heavy, heavy accents, and accents is bit of American style. So it can be a tedious task for some. And however, if you are good at your English skills and everything, you can opt for this. And the duration is almost same. The cost is almost same. The range is again for IELTS is 0 to 9 bands. TOEFL is 0 to 120, and PT is 0 to 90. Now coming to the sections, what are the sections in this three test? That is the same, that is listening, reading, writing, and speaking. However, there are integrated tasks in TOEFL and PT. That is an advantage in IELTS. What is integrated task? Means sometimes they also give writing along with the reading. However, in IELTS, you'll be getting separate modules. Separate, that is listening is separated, reading is separated, so you don't have any confusions, or you will not be in a hustle and bustle, right? And the validity of the test results. The test results will be valid for all the three tests, that is for 2 years. And the score report for pen and paper based will be always for 13 days, and for computerized it would be 5 to 7 for everyone. Okay, so you can have a short look. Let me see if there are any questions. Okay. Okay. Now moving further. Now, which one you should target for? That is USA, UK, Canada, Australia, Germany. So if you are aiming only for USA, if you're feeling that you only want to go to USA, you can always attempt for TOEFL or IELTS. Now, what is TOEFL and IELTS? Now, TOEFL is accepted by most of the universities, and IELTS as well is accepted by most of the universities these days. However, the universities like Stanford only accepts TOEFL. However, in that case, only 10% of the universities are there who can only accept TOEFL, and they do not accept the IELTS. However, in the case of UK, Canada and Germany, IELTS, Australia even, are most probably accepted the IELTS. In Australia again, if you're going for academic, PTE or IELTS, you can go for whichever the pattern, and the pattern is convenient for you. If you're computer savvy, if you're very much good at your English level, then you can always go for PTE. But in this case, there'll be a small change in the immigration purpose. Whereas I'll tell you something about IELTS, the general training. The general training is bit easier in IELTS than the academic reading. The reading is bit easier, and the academic reading is having more vocabularies, more complexity in the language. So when you opt for PTE, there is no difference. You'll be always have to attempt, whether you're going for a job purpose or you're going for for immigration purpose. You always need to opt for PTE, that is for academic. You always have to opt for the academic version, that is with vocabularies. So it can be hard for some people. So my main agenda of this is that I recommend mostly people, if you are having multiple options open, then you can always opt for IELTS, because IELTS is something that is widely accepted in almost all countries. Now moving further, now coming back to the main topic about the descriptions about IELTS in depth. Before we move, okay, now what is academic and general training IELTS? What is academic? Academic is something when you are going or pursuing your higher education in a foreign land, then it is very much needed, the academic test is very much needed, so that they would understand that have you understand the concept of reading and everything, are you will be able to understand the tutors, I'll be able to handle all the great vocabularies and so on. So the academic test is accepted over there. However, if you're only going for a job purpose or you're going for a permanent residency, then they always accept a general training, and they see that are you able to survive in the social as well as in your workplace context, and are you able to communicate via letters to your colleagues or to your clients, and are you able to write properly, read properly, and communicate properly. So this is something, the difference between academic and general. Now let me give you some depth information about these 4 modules, how it works and how it is going to be. So the first is the listening thing. Now what is the listening part? The listening, in listening there'll be 4 parts, that is part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. There'll be approximately 30 minutes time, 30 minutes of audio that will be given to you. You have to listen to that audio and simultaneously you have to give the answers, and the rest 10 minutes would be you'll be given extra to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now the types of questions would be, there will be 40 types of total questions, and the varieties of the question types would be multiple choice, match, diagram, flow charts, completion, sentence completion, and such types of different questions would be asked to you. Now in part 1 there will be generally 2 persons conversations, that would be, for example, they would ask you about a form filling, like if you have lost something, you are calling to an insurance company, so you have to give some details. Always generally the part 1 question is about giving the details, like filling up the phone number, filling up the address and such things. That would be in 1 word or 2 word filling the blanks. And again, when you move to the part 2 and part 3, there'll be 3 persons conversations or up to 4 persons conversations. 2 persons are speaking and simultaneously you have to give the answers. But what is the advantage in this, that before you start your test, there'll be few minutes given to you to refer certain questions. Okay, for example, if you are attempting first 1 to 5 questions, before 1 to 5 the section starts, you'll be given at least few minutes to refer to that 1 to 5 questions, and then again you'll be given some time to refer to the 5 to 7 or 5 to 10 questions. So this way the audio will work to 40 questions. The major plus point in IELTS for listening is, and for all modules is, there is no negative markings in IELTS. So you can always attempt all the questions in the listening module. So this is something about listening. If anyone is having any issues with the listening, Okay, now let me move further with the reading, the band scores. Okay, yeah, this is the most important part. Now for listening, the band scores are the same for the general as well as the academic ones. Okay, the listening is same for the both the things. So now if you score out of 40, you get 16 scores, right? 16 correct, then you'll get a 5 band. If you score 23, then you get a 6 band. If you score a 30, then you get a 7 band. If you score a 35, you get an 8 band. And if you score all the correct answers, then you'll get a 9 band. And in listening, let me tell you, if you are moving for Canada, okay, if you are the main applicant, then your target should be 35, because 8 band is mandatory in listening. And if you are even attempting for Australia, then you have to always target for 8 band. That is a 35 out of 40 should be right. Okay, so this is the band score criteria, and especially for listening, for academic students, 6 is a mandatory score. Okay, now moving to academic reading. Now let me give you some short introductions and instructions and tell you about the difference between the academic and the general reading. Okay, the time span is the same, that is 1 hour for academic as well as general training. That is 60 minutes, that is 1 hour, right? There will be certain passages given to you. Okay, along with that passages, there will be certain answers, questions given to you. Okay, the question types would be like true or false, not given, filling the blanks, identifying information, summary completion, then list of headings, A to E. Such types of different types of questions would be asked to you. What is the main agenda of this reading is, they would give you a passages and you have to find out the answers, answers from the passages itself. They are just paraphrasing the questions answer. Okay, means like, for example, if you are doing true or false not given, and there are certain questions given to you related to true or false not given, then the same answers you have to find out in the passages. You do not have to make up the answers, you just need to find out the paraphrasing of the question in the reading passages. So they will understand that are you able to understand whatever has given to you with high vocabularies or not. In academic reading, there are generally more complex in the languages, to see that are you able to cope up and are you able to study over there. And the questions and the passages would be generally from the books, from the journals, magazines and newspapers. There will be varieties of different questions, and there will be high vocabulary. Okay, again, and there will be no negative marking, so you can always attempt all 40 questions. So this is the reading. There will be 3 reading passages with a variety of questions using a number of task types. Okay, so we'll move on further. For the general training reading, again you'll be having 1 hour time allocated for the reading session. There will be 40 questions. You can attempt all the 40 questions. Now how it is differ from the academic ones. The academic one is slightly with high vocabularies, with more complexity. However, it's not the case with the general training. It's a bit easy language. Okay, the passages would be with less vocabularies, with less complex sentences. The first passage would be the easiest one, the second would be a bit tough, and the third passage would be with more destructive sentences and the more complexity in that language. So with the passages, with the flow of the passages, the the task becomes tougher. So the same goes with the academic training as well. Now in the first section, the important thing in general training is the first section is mostly about the social survival, mostly, not always, but mostly. And in the second section, they will always ask you about the workplace survivals, okay, the job descriptions, the contracts, and they would focus more on the workplace environment in the second passage. The third section would be on always would be involved in the some about related to magazines, to fictions and non-fiction stories from newspapers, articles, and will be given different types of complex language in that. So and there is no negative marking, so you can attempt all the 40 questions. Now moving further, the band scores. These are the most important thing for academic reading. What's the band score actually you have to target for? That is a 6 band that is mandatory for academic reading, that is 23. If you score out of 40 23, you'll get a 6 band. If you score 30, you'll get a 7 band. Okay, now this is not the case with the general training. When you score 23, you'll get a 5 band. And why? And you score 23 and you get a 6 band. So why there is a difference? I'll tell you. Because the academic training, academic reading is a bit tougher than the general reading. Again, with the band criteria, they try to balance the score. So there is no major as such difference. And if you're talking about general training, 34 will score a 7 band. If you're targeting for Canada, the main applicant, it's a mandatory the 7 banders. And if you're targeting for Australia, 8 band is mandatory. So this is something, and if you get 40 out of 40 in reading, then you'll get a 9 band score. So this is something about reading. Now we can move further. Yes, Shivakumar, you have any question related to this? Okay, Shiv Kumar, do you have any queries? You have some time between each question. Yes, exactly. For listening, are you asking? Not for each question they will give time. Okay. For listening, if you are asking, then for listening it is how they'll give a certain time period for few questions, like 1 to 5, as I said in the starting. They would give some time, okay, to refer to the questions, and then they will start the audio and you can continue with the audio. I hope your question is cleared so that we can move forward now. Okay, now the academic writing. What is the academic writing and how it works? There are 2 tasks, that is 2 questions given to you. That is, one is task 1 and task 2. Now both you have to complete in 1 hour time period. Okay, both the tasks should be completed in 1 hour. That is writing task 1 and writing task 2. Now what is task 1 and task 2? There will be different 2 questions given to you. That task 1 is related to a picture. There will be a picture given to you, and like the pictures types would be the graph, table, chart, diagram. That pictures you have to illustrate in 150 words. You have to illustrate that task in 150 words. Now what you have to illustrate, the task achievement is the most important thing, that whatever you have seen in the picture, that you have to write it down. Okay, and that's called task achievement, that you have understood the picture properly and you have put on the main ideas and you have illustrated everything in a proper manner. So task 1 even works with a proper structure. IELTS is always working with a proper structure and proper methodology, and some requirements are always needed in IELTS. Now what is task 2? Task 2 would be a general essay question given to you. Generalize, it's not about only your city, it's not about your country, about your own experiences. It's all about the world we are speaking about in IELTS. So in writing, what would be the major part 2 questions? The task 2 one would be asked, like it would be about the topics related to pollution, it would be about parents, it would be about children facing any problems with the social media, it would be about the environmental issues, and such kinds of questions would be asked. There are almost 7 types of writing task. Okay, in essays, any one could be asked, and writing always works with a proper structure, proper methodology, and proper requirements that are IELTS looking for. So this is the task 2 questions that you have to complete in 250 words. That you have to complete in 250 words, the task 2 questions. Now you'll be allocated 60 minutes for both the task. Okay, so as the task 1 has less weightage, that is of 150 words, you can always give 20 minutes for task 1, and the rest 40 minutes you can always give for the task 2, as it contains 250 words weightage. So this is something about the academic writing. Now for the general training writing, it's the same. You'll be allocated 2 tasks, okay, and the time span would be 60 minutes again, okay, that is, you'll be given 1 hour, and for the task 1 it would be again 150 words, but the task 1 would be different from the academic task 1. What's the difference? That you're moving for immigration purposes, or you are going for a job purposes. For that reason you'll be needing a letter to write. The letters would be formal, semi-formal, or informal. These are the 3 types of letters that would be given. Any one type would be asked in the exam, and that you have to attempt in 150 words. They'll be given certain types of questions. The formal questions related to your company, you're writing a letter to a company, you're writing a letter to your neighbors, and such different kinds of questions would be asked. Now coming back to the task 2, again it would be the same as the academic task, okay. What is the task 2 again? It would be generalized essay questions on pollution, environment, parents, children. Only there is a slight difference between the task 2, that is questions that are asked for general training, and for the academic ones. Now what are the general questions that have been asked? For academic, they will always ask the questions related to crime, the environment, news, related to some of the studies that they are doing, right, as they are going for study purposes. However, for general training, the questions would be asked that about art, about parents, about children, and about elderly people. Such kinds of questions would be asked always for the general training. However, you have to prepare, you need to get ready for all the types of questions. Now the descriptions, band descriptions, what is required, okay. For listening and reading, we have, if your 1 mark is cut, you get a particular band, but in this it doesn't work like this. In this, for the task 1, you want the task achievement, means you have covered all the points, you have understood the question properly, and you have written the same thing with the more complex language. What's the task response? Task response means you have understood the question and you are not going off topic. Off topic means if your essay is about talking about for example environment, then you need to stick to the environment topic till the end. If you are talking about pollution, if you're talking about some other things, then there are chances that you have going off topic in your task response, then that would lose up your marks. Now what is coherence and cohesion? Okay, that your sentences should link to each other, even your paragraph should link to each other. That's the most important thing, that in one attempt only the examiner should understand what you are trying to write. He or she should not be having any problem that your one sentence is in the other paragraph and the one sentence you are talking about, and there is a mixtures of keywords and explanations and everything. It should be very clear. So that is the most important thing in coherence and cohesion. Now what's the next is the lexical resources, focus on and target on. Sorry. Okay. Now what exactly they are looking for the lexical resources? What's lexical resources actually? No, people have wrong assumptions, especially in India. They feel that you need more vocabularies. There should be lots of good words to increase your score bands. But it's not the case. If you place any word vocabulary at the wrong place, there are lots of chances that you might lose a band. Okay, so it's very much necessary that you prepare the lexical resources where there are no repetitions of words or no repetitions of ideas. So for that reason, lexical resource is very much important, where you do not repeat. Apart from that, you should always know where exactly this lexical resource fits out, because sometimes there are two meanings of a single word, and if you happen to place it in the wrong direction, then you might lose bands. And it's not necessary that IELTS is looking about more high vocabularies. It's always looking about sufficient vocabularies. So you need to understand this point. Now again, coming to the grammatical range and accuracy. What's grammatical range and accuracy? Means you have understood the questions properly, you are able to use lots of complexity in your language. Like you can use active voice, passive voice. Along with passive voice, active voice, you can use both of them, right? You can use however, though, nonetheless. Such kinds of brings more complexity in your language, so you are able to use it. But again some of them, what they do is they use lots of these things, right? It's very important to use everything in a right place. So if you have more than 3 to 4 mistakes, there are chances of losing one band. Okay, so IELTS is all about task response in writing. Okay, coherence and cohesions, your ideas should link to each other, sufficient lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. Now if you're having any questions related to writing, you can always ask me. I had a doubt for a long time. Okay, so cleared. Okay, good. Okay, Pawan, you're feeling that I'm not good in my handwriting, so there'll be any impact on my writing bands. See, that I will tell you when we move forward. You can always opt for computer based, or you can try certain things. Sometimes people have misconceptions of that their handwritings are not good, but even with a little practice you can polish your things. So I'll give you some tips whether what you can do next and how it can be useful to you. Okay, now coming back to the topic, that is the speaking topic. Now what's speaking and how it works? Let me explain you. There'll be 3 parts. Okay, before coming to the speaking, let me make you clear that the listening, reading and writing test would be on one day itself. Okay, there'll be first would be your listening test, then you'll be given your reading test, and then will be given your writing test. It would be in one time span. Okay, there'll be no breaks in the middle in your this 3 tests. Okay, no, for there'll be no breaks in the middle, you have to give in a one stretch. And speaking, coming to speaking, it would be in a different day. There'll be a time slot given to you. At that time slot, particular location would be allocated to you. At that location you have to reach before 30 minutes, and it would be a total of 20 to 25 minutes of test. Now there'll be 3 parts, that is part 1, part 2 and part 3. Okay, the part 1, there'll be an examiner in front of you who would be asking you certain questions. Like for part 1, they'll ask you the generalized questions about what do you work, what is your name, what are your hobbies, and what are your interests, about your hometown, and such silly questions would be asked. That will be about 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, that you can give the answers. Always you can attempt that answers for 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, 2 to 3 sentences, I'm sorry. Okay, and then will be your part 2 questions. Now what are the part 2 questions? There'll be a cue card given to you. Cue card in the sense means a topic would be given to you. See, speaking is all about your own experiences, how you experience speaking. Okay, about your own experiences means, for example, the topic would be like a person you respect and adore, a toy that you played in your childhood. So you have to speak on that topic for at least 2 minutes. Okay, a question would be given to you, a personalized question would be given to you, that you have to give time for at least 2 minutes. Before you speak, there will be 1 minute allocated to you to refer to the question and think about it. After that, you can speak on 2 minutes. Okay, and from your own experience you have to speak about. You can speak for example, I told you before that you can speak if the topic is about a person you respect and adore, so you can always speak on your father, your mother, or whoever you respect more. Okay, now the part 3 question. What are the part 3 question? It would be the generalized question that have the topic would be asked in the part 2. Related to that part 2 questions will be follow-up questions would be given to you in the part 3 session. For example, If the question in the part 2 was a toy that you played in your childhood, then the further questions would be asked related to toys, the children playing toys in the past and what's the difference between the present toys. Okay, so such types of different types of questions, follow-up questions would be always asked. And most probably there'll be time period would be 4 to 5 minutes, the follow-up questions. Generally they'll ask you 8 to 10 questions, sometimes it depends upon your answers that you give. So this is the part 1, part 2 and part 3 will be allocated to you. Okay, now what's the PAN score in the speaking? Okay, in the speaking, what is the criteria? The fluency and the coherence. Okay, again they'll check your the pronunciations. Are you able to understand the questions? In part 1 and part 3 especially, they will see your task response. That, for example, if they have asked you certain question, you're not going off topic in that, you're sticking to that question and you're answering accordingly. So this is something that would be asked. Apart from that, they'll see the range of grammatical sentences, the accuracy, your vocabularies, your pronunciations, and your confidence of speaking. Are you able to understand and give the same answers, and are you able to fulfill all their needs and requirements? So this is something that they are asking in speaking. Okay, and accordingly you'll be allocated the bands. Okay, and if for writing and speaking, if you are planning to move to Canada, then 7 is a mandatory band for main applicants always. And if you're planning to move to Australia, then 8 in each module is necessary. Okay, now let's move further. Any questions, if you are having related to writing and speaking, you can always ask me. Okay, cue card with fluency, how much accept the PAN scores? 1. Okay, Pawan, if I spoke for 1 minute and 5 seconds in cue card with fluency, how much I expect the PAN score? See, again, if you are speaking for 1 minute and 5 seconds, right, then it depends, have you covered all the points? And there are chances that examiner will come to know that you are unable to speak for 2 minutes, right? You do not have sufficient idea, so there are chances that you might get 5.5, stuck with 5.5 always. So this is a drawback. You at least have to speak for 2 minutes. Okay, and any other one having any problems? Okay, ma'am, can you please suggest me which universities accepts IELTS in the different universities? See, Chandni, okay, the members of my team would coordinate you related to this matter. Okay, I will be happy to help you with the universities as well. Okay, now as all questions queries are almost solved, now let's move further. Now whether you can the next question is whether you can prepare IELTS by yourself or not. Now let me tell you my experience first before we judge or come to any conclusions. I've been teaching IELTS since long, and I have also experienced, though some are native speakers. Okay, one of my student from Australia right now, he is got stuck with IELTS for 6 bands. Can you imagine? Though his English is very much very much accurate, but I'll tell you something, that IELTS always work along with the English. It works with proper structure and a proper there are certain criterias and requirements that IELTS is asking from. So though you are sometimes very good at your English, but until and unless you don't know the proper structure, or you don't have a proper guidance, there are chances that you might stuck with 0.5 band, and writing and speaking mostly people are struggling these days. So that is the reason you might be needing a coaching. And if you feel that no, you are really good at your English and you can do by yourself, it again depends. The answer is yes or no. Okay, it again depends upon you, that how you want to proceed with your things. And sometimes people are having less self confidence. Means though their English is very much good and they are really proficient in their English, but certain ideas they are lacking with certain ideas. Okay, sometimes for example in writing there'll be any type of question asked to you. Okay, there is not a certain pattern or questions given to you, from that only you have to prepare and the answers would be asked. It can come from any question. Okay, so you should have sufficient ideas. So when that comes, when you know enroll for a coaching where there are discussions, you can get sufficient ideas related to all the topics. And sometimes some people are very good at English, but they have lack of ideas or self confidence, less self confidence. So always they can enroll for the coaching. And again it depends, do you feel confident or not. Okay, now let's move further and give you some short performance details. Let me give you that world's performance details in IELTS. Okay, what was that? For academic, I'll tell you the performance by gender means it was 6.10 bands overall in for female. Okay, the male were having 6.03 for academic overall band scores. However, in the writing and the speaking module, it's quite less, and in listening, people are doing quite good. And again, in reading, they are having some difficulties, because reading is always in academic, as I told you before, that it's lots of vocabularies and everything. So majorly people are facing writing and speaking problems. So 30 to 40% only crack IELTS. Apart from that, people are really having a problem, because they are targeting for 6 bands in each at least for academic. And if you are aiming for good universities, their minimum score they require is 7.5. And again, talking about the general training performance, that was 6.62, and overall for male it was 6.56. Again, for writing, I'll tell you it's only 6.10. Okay, bands. And 6 again. For listening, they have done good. Again, for speaking, apart from the rather than the speaking in the academic, the speaking part in okay. Okay, now let me tell you the scores. Give me. Okay, now what is the performance in India? Okay, for the academic and the general, the overall score was 6.1 in India, whereas the reading was quite difficult, and even the writing scores and the speaking scores are not that up to mark. Okay, people are majorly facing problems with the reading, because it's heavy content are given in that. And we, as we live in India, there are different when we get detached from our studies once, and we start especially for the immigration purposes, we start working and we don't have a regular conversations in English. So what happens when we get detached from our English, we always either converse with our colleagues, or for the work purposes in our native language, or we have a conversations in Hindi as our national language. So it becomes really difficult again to switch on to their studies and focus on the English language and gain more high vocabularies. So this is the case that people are majorly facing these days. And for general training, again it's 6.7 overall bands. That is, again, listening they are doing good, but writing and speaking, again they have stuck with 6 point and 6.7 in speaking. So as you are targeting for any Canada or Australia or any other countries for migration purpose, 8 and 7 bands are mandatory over there. So the demand for high scores for migration people. So this was a short performance review. Now we'll move further. If you want to experience how well versed you are with IELTS, and are you able to, and you want to experience what kind of IELTS is, you can always take a mini test of IELTS, that is in the diagnostic test, that is in our website. It's for academic and general training both. Now It's just for 99 rupees. Okay, and after diagnostic test, if you're satisfied, you want to enroll with the course, there is up to 50%, okay, and 10 to 20% assured discount on your IELTS training that we provide. And apart from that, the benefit is that you will be having 30-minute personalized feedback call with our instructors, who will guide you, who will tell you how much scores you are getting in writing, speaking, listening, reading, and how well you are. Okay, so this is something you can try often, in our diagnostic test to experience our IELTS. Okay, so you can have an experience what exactly IELTS is, how it works, how well you can do, and so on. Okay, now let's move further to our courses, what we offer, that I'll give you in a short information. Our life training courses, see, we work mostly on a personalized level. Okay, we have one-to-one conversations with our students. We have 25 hours of life training, that is, we give section wise practice test, 10 mock tests, and personalized mentorship, dedication, WhatsApp group as well. Okay, then how it works in the life training, I'll give you a short information, that there are 7 types of essays. Okay, major focus of ours is on writing and speaking, right? The day we start, okay, after a week itself, we'll start the speaking every day in the class. Okay, and coming back to the writing, there'll be 7 types of essays are there. Okay, every type would be discussed on each day, and that day itself you'll be getting a sample essay to write it down. To know the structure and evaluating the essay would be done on the same day itself. So 5 days of writing, 3 days of reading, and there'll be divided sections for reading, like one day you'll be given true or false, filling the blanks, the other day list of headings A to E, so that you can have the clear concept about the IELTS. 2 days for listening, and speaking would be done every day, because speaking is something, there are lots of questions and you cannot achieve them just before 15 days of your exams, so it needs to be done right away. And even writing, so after the 10 or 12 days, when instructors give you the proper instructions and the basic details what exactly IELTS is and what are the patterns for each modules, after that we make a personalized timetable for everyone according to their capabilities and needs and requirements. And there are lots of essays, brainstorming. Okay, even the speaking is done on a regular basis. And if you do not want to go for the live training, and if you feel that you are very good at your listening and reading skills, you can always go for the separate modules, that is separate courses, that is writing course that we offer, that is 15 hours live training along with brainstorming. What is brainstorming? Collecting of the ideas of the essays, that would be done. And apart with that, structuring, 10 types of essays would be evaluated, okay, with the detailed feedback to the given on a personalized level. And there'll be also dedicated WhatsApp group for sharing some useful informations and such kinds of things. And after that would be, if you feel that you want to only go for the speaking module, you can take our 15 hours live training with brainstorming and practicing 50 plus cue cards. Cue cards means topics, and 10 speaking tests with detailed feedback. Okay, personal mentorship, again the dedicated WhatsApp group, the same. And if you feel that you only want to go for the mock test series, then you can have full 5 mock tests, paper based as well as computer based test we prepare according to the needs and capabilities of the students. Okay, if they are aiming for paper exam, we'll give them the mock test related to paper based, and if you're giving the exams for computer based, we can provide you sufficient materials for that, and detailed feedback with preparation tips. Okay, now personalized training, that would be 24 hours one-on-one training. Means if you want to go, you do not want to go in a group session, we also provide a one-to-one training, okay, where there will be sectional practice test, 10 full mock test, and personalized mentorship. Okay, means one-on-one feedback would be given to you. You can either go for the group training, or you can even go for a personalized training that is provided by us. So this is the course that we provide, that is live training courses for the group, writing module, speaking module, mock test series, and even personalized training. So any questions related to do this? Anyone are having? Okay, this is Jeva. You are having stuck with reading sessions and it seems to be tough. Okay, any tips to improve? For that, you can always, what is the difference between paper based and computer based exam? Okay, what's the difference between paper based and computer based exam? I'll come to that point. Okay, even I'll come to the point when you are stuck with the reading section, what you can do for that. I'll come to that question. Okay, now let's move a bit further. Okay, now what's the sources and materials? Okay, where you can find out this materials and where are the resources available. See, you can always the books that are the standard books from the Cambridge University, that's IELTS 15, 14, 13, there are from 1 to 15 books, but you can always go for the latest version of it. The reason is there are few changes in the patterns of IELTS, that is listening nowadays they do not give in the test examples at the start, that has been removed. So you can always experience in this latest version of the book, that is Cam 15. Okay, so these books are available online, you can also buy from Amazon and so on, and if you want to do a self study. However, other resources you can search on IELTSlease.com, mentor.com and IELTSadvantage.com. Apart from that, these books have a standard format, and I feel that sometimes I have experienced from my experience that sometimes these have easy questions and answers, and sometimes the test is a bit harder than this. Okay, so always we have sufficient materials, we have sufficient mock tests that test your levels. At the start we have the easy level of mock, then the hard level, and we try and give people more complexity in the questions, so that whenever if there are hard tests given in the exam, they can easily crack out the exams. So we provide sufficient materials once they enroll with us, and we provide sufficient guidance that if the test is hard, what you can do next for it. So this is the resources that you can go on. Now moving further, some people are having questions, the general questions that today will go on, that generally people are having some problems, or do not know, and some feel that IDP is more better, or some tell me that British Council is more better. So let me just make your this idea clear, that there is no difference between the test and the taken by the IDP or the British Council. It is all set by the Cambridge University. The papers are one and the same for IDP and the British Council. For listening and reading, they are always checked by the computer, right? Whereas talking about the writing and the speaking part, it's always checked by the examiners, and the pattern and the band descriptions and the checking criterias are one and the same for both the bodies. So there is no difference, you can opt for any one. Now moving further, yes, who was having the question about computer and paper based? Okay, ma'am, please suggest. Okay, the difference between, what is the difference between paper based exam and computer based exam? Okay, you told me about paper based and computer based, so now we are coming to the point over here. Let me explain you what's exactly the paper based and computer based exam. So now paper based and computer based exam is one and the same. Okay, the marking criteria are one and the same. Okay, the format is one and the same. However, what's the difference is, in listening you'll be not allocated 10 minutes extra for the computer based. Okay, and if you are very much techno savvy, if you are very well versed with the computer, everything and fast typing speed you are having, you can always opt for computer based exam. Okay, And if you are in a hurry to get your test reports, then you can always attempt for computer based, as it gets in 3 to 5 days. However, when you're going for paper based exams, okay, it would make your task more easy, and it would help you to evaluate your mistakes, and you can always scribble on the question papers, and you can find out the keywords, and you can be always ahead in the time for listening as well, for referring the questions. As in computer based, it becomes sometimes hustle and bustle for some to scroll down and up, and to find out the answers. So again, if your handwriting are not good, for example, some have asked me the questions, then let me tell you that sometimes you can improve your writing, but if you are well versed with your computer and your writings are bad, you can always opt for computer based exams. So now, IELTS indicator. This is something that is for academic students. They have invented in this COVID-19 situation. You can take this test at your home at your comfort and safety. The modules are one and the same. There will be allocated bands for each module. However, I don't prefer to take this test because major universities do not accept IELTS indicator as the test results. Why? Because only around 10% of universities accept this results. However, when you submit your test results, and once you get the admission, they always ask for getting the actual IELTS test, that is pen and paper or computerized, going to the center and attempting it. So we do not recommend of taking IELTS indicated test. Now, was having the question about the reading part. Okay,